Okay, so now in this video, we're going to talk through a model lesson for a consonant. So you can get out your copy of the consonant lesson plan, which is for G, game, G, and it's lesson number 9. So again, I'm not going to go through the phonological awareness, the flashcard, the review word list. Let's assume I just did all of that with my student, and now here I am prepared to start step 4 by activating their prior knowledge. Okay, now G is often a consonant that does get special attention because kids might be making the J sound for it, or they might struggle with letter formation here. So this is a very likely situation that this consonant would need a little extra help. So you can also see if you look at the sample lesson plan recording sheet, now I've taught, if I'm at lesson 9, I've taught a couple more things since I did my I lesson. I taught the H lesson and I taught a lesson on U. So now we have 3 short vowels in the running for this child. We've got I, O, and A. So just so you can kind of see like the progress that this pretend child has made. Okay. Now we're a little bit deeper into this now, lesson 9. So my vowel consonant warm up is what I'm going to use to activate prior knowledge. That's going to be a little bit speedier because we're really getting some movement here. All right, now I know you know a lot about vowels and consonants, so go ahead and tell me if it's a vowel sound, our mouth will be open, that's right. And if it's a consonant sound, that little puff of air that comes out is going to be blocked. You got it. So we've got open sounds and blocked sounds, vowels and consonants. Ready? I'm going to give you one. You tell me what you know. Ah. That's right. Vowel sound wide open in that circle position. That's right. Blocked by your teeth. I heard you say it. Oh, a lip popper again. That's right. Blocked by your lips. Eh. Vowel. Yeah, and that one's tricky because it's not even open that wide. Eh is a really skinny little opening right there. Well done. All right, so you're warmed up. You know a lot about vowels and consonants. Let's add another sound to our pile today. Okay, what do you hear at the beginning of these words? Got, gap. Now you say them. Got, gap. What sound is at the beginning of got, gap? Okay, good. Let me just do some more. Let's hear the end of these words. Ready? Now we're at the end. Big, tag, log. What did you hear at the end of those? Or actually echo first. Big, tag, log. What did you hear at the end? Okay, that's right. It was the G sound. Do you know what letter goes with the G sound? Do you know that one? It's a little bit tricky. I'm looking in my, that one is actually G. Let's take a look at it on our dry erase board. There we go. Oops, and I shouldn't have told them, but if they had said G out loud, yeah, a lot of times they do know the letter that goes with it, and so that's fine. And if they don't, you would say, let's take a look, and then you would show them what they have here. All right, what letter do you see that's the same here? That's right, you see G. Can you go ahead and underline the G? And I want you to say G when you underline it. G, 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 G. Now, you know, a lot of my students get tricked by this letter because when you say the letter name G, your mouth does J at the beginning. And so a lot of my students think that G says J. And yes, sometimes it does, true, but a lot of the time G says G. So I want to help you remember that. So let me get my G card out. Oh boy, it's really hidden in my pile here. Where did it go? Where did it go? It was at the very end. I must have had it put aside for us. Okay, so here's a little picture of a game board, and that's going to help us remember the word game. So let's say G, game, G. You try it. G, game, G. Now, I want you to tell me, do you think G is a consonant or a vowel? Oh, that's right. It's on a yellow card, so you can see that it's a consonant. But let's feel it in our mouth. Let's see if we can pay attention to what's happening in our mouth. G, G. What's happening in there? G. Do you feel your tongue moving? This one's a little bit hard to see. You kind of have to feel it. You kind of have to like close your eyes and go in your mouth and feel what your tongue is doing. Why don't you tell me if you feel your tongue moving at the back of your mouth or at the front? G, G. That's right, it's at the back. It's like scraping on the top of your mouth. Some people call these a tongue scraper sound, G, G, because your tongue is scraping. Other people call them a choking sound, G, G, right? Because it kind of feels like you're choking. Now teachers, if this is a tricky sound for your kids to articulate, if you know that they're having trouble with G versus K, like that G, K sound, a lot of people have issues spelling and reading that at the end of words. This could be a good time to pull out your lively letters and do that story and do a little bit of a contrast with G, K, G, K, and the two, the noisy and the quiet one. So that's how I bring in those little connections at that time. If your student is having trouble with letter formation for any letter, but G could be one that has letter formation issues, this is a good time for the tactile piece to work on that. These are little sandpaper letters, so they're already pre-made, like they have the sandpaper on them, which is nice. Or you can buy Wiki Sticks, which are like wax covered string. They're very cheap and affordable to buy a pack of those. And you can see here we drew a lively letters picture. Like I drew the letter G and drew the girl because my student wasn't interested in the drawing part. And then now we have a little letter formation card to support us, and we did an arrow on that. So you can also talk about like handwriting without tears, how you do like that magic C first, and then you scoop. So G, game, G. Or this is a girl who's like, she chewed on gum and she swallowed it. That's the story that goes here. So she like washes it down with grape juice. So, you know, any of those cues would help. The girl has gum and she had grape juice. And that little arrow is my signal for letter formation. So I could keep this out on the lesson when I did my spelling so that my student was ready to go. Or something like this, you could have them go G, game, G, G, game, G, G, game, G. Now, obviously, these kinds of things work best when you're in person with the child. So you have to be a little bit more creative when you're away, and you could try to recreate that image on the screen. All right, now another thing I didn't show you in the short vowel lesson was how to add that to the notebook. So I'm going to show you the tangible notebook, the physical notebook, since this is what most of my practice is built on, but we also have tools for you to build a digital notebook online. What I like to say to my students is, okay, should we put that in the vowels or the consonant section of our notebook? That's right, the consonant section. Okay, so let's open that up. And so this child has been collecting and drawing as we go. So now I've got the choking sound set up. So they would have the loud choking sound, G, game, G. I would have them draw, you know, whatever we wanted to draw a picture of. The game board, if I wanted to use the Wilson OG Foundations cue, or if I needed to rely a little bit more on lively letters for this particular sound, I could draw a picture of the girl, and so on. And then some people might have a letter formation piece where, you know, you're putting all your letters and you're sorting them by the way, the shape. So you could have your C and your A and your G and your D all together because they all start with that same shape. So those are just decisions that you can make at your discretion based on what your student needs. If they're not having major issues with G, then you might just go ahead with G, game, G. If they are having some issues with the pronunciation of that and they're getting it mixed up with K, or they're saying the J sound for it, then you're going to have to decide which tools and which like keyword or clue is going to be most useful. All right, good job popping that in your notebook. Now let's move on and practice reading those words. So if the student is in person with me, got my word list right here. Now today, because g is such a tricky sound, and we're always tempted to make the j sound, I've given us some word families here today. See if you can tell me what word family you see in the very first row. So you're gonna look at the vowel and the last letter. Og, that's right. Let's underline every time we see og. Og, 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 og. And I know it's tempting to make the j sound because we hear j, j, g, but we're going to remember about that game card, g, g, g. That's going to be our little clue. So we can keep that out next to us. Let's pretend I just put this up above where the student is reading so they have it nearby and they can see it. All right, I want you to whisper read these og words. Go for it. All right, try reading it. Og, 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 og. Nice job reading those. I heard the g sound in every single one. Well done. I know it's tempting to say j, but you use g. All right, now I want to have you snap them together. So instead of going og, try going fog. In your head, you might have to do og first, but then you just snap it all together. All right, go ahead. Fog, bog, hog, log. You did it. Well done. Let's check out the word family in row 2. What word family do you see there? ig. All right, go ahead and underline ig. And then blah, blah, blah. We would continue with that. Now, and when we get to the bottom row, I would ask now we've got G in the first position. So a lot of times this is where they make the G say J. I feel like when it's in that first position, they're more vulnerable to making the J sound. When it's in the last position, like for this one, I feel like kids could say the K sound, pick. That's an error I see a lot. So that's not a rule, but that's just a pattern I've seen, that when G comes in the final position, they get the cognates, the noisy and quiets mixed up. And when G is in the initial spot, that's where it kind of gets confused with the J sound. Not necessarily, but just be on the lookout for that and coach your students. Tell them directly if they're making that error. That's because these are noisy and quiet brothers. That's a really common mistake to make. When you see this one, remember, g, g, g. It's that girl choking on her gum. Ugh, that's a loud sound for g, g, g. So give them like that story, that mnemonic that will help coach them through that error pattern. All right, now take a look at these sentences. I want you to highlight where you see our G, the g sound. Do you see it at the beginning or end? Yeah, that's right. You see it at the end. Okay, practice reading this word. Oh, do you know this sight word, by the way? I underlined it because they didn't. Is. Well done. Okay. Now, do you see any other sight words you know? Oh, the and the. 2 the. So that's going to be helpful. All right, go ahead and practice that sentence. Oops, I did not put a period at the end there. And then I'm going to have you read it aloud. The love is in the dog. Okay, before you reread that, I want you to take a look at the last word. I heard you say dog for that word. Check again there. Do we see first the bat, then the ball? Or do we see first the drum, then the stick? You can trace it. First the bat, then the ball. Okay, so that's our B. B, b, b. Now say that word again. B. Og, bog. Okay, do you know what a bog is? A bog, we have them around here in Massachusetts. It's a cranberry bog that it's kind of like a swampy, wet area. And that's where they grow cranberries, those little red berries. Yeah, so picture like a little bit of a swampy, wet area. All right, now try reading it aloud to me. The og is in the bog. Good job. Now I went a little bit smoother. Now that you know log and bog, let's try going a little smoother. The log, you try it. The log is in the bog. Well done. The log is in the bog. What do you picture in your brain after reading that sentence? What do you see? A log and a bog. Okay, yeah, but tell me more. Remind me what you see in your brain for a bog. Like a swampy place. So I see like a log and it's muddy and there are like leaves and water and stuff. All right, good. That sounds great. Okay, so then the student can continue on and then we'd be moving on to part 6 of our lesson. Now, if you were doing this online, you might have, your page might look like this instead. So instead of doing the whiteboard or discovery mat right on the table, you might have your words listed here. And just like before, you could have the student, let's see, you could underline, what's the same. And you could notice that G can come at the beginning and the ending of words. And then you've got your visual there for game, g, g, g. Or you could put on that lively letter picture of the girl with the gum and choking. That would work too. We have our words, and you know what to do if you needed to insert a shape. To quickly insert a shape, just to cover up what you didn't need to see, and just do one word at a time, one row at a time. And again, your sentence is nice and big, and you can always add some tracking there as well. And just, there you go. And now you're seeing one sentence. And you could have the child, sometimes when we highlight our sight words ahead of time, I say, okay, if you tell me if you see a sight word, and we highlight that, especially for the little kids where sight words are kind of a big deal. And then we look and then we say, okay, where are our sound out words? Okay, this one's a sound out word, so we'll put the vowel in red to remind us to sound it out. Again, in you can classify as a sound out word, or a sight word. Okay, so you can see my visuals on the screen are pretty bare bones when I'm doing online teaching. I like to keep my slide background white. I think less is more. This is like not going to win awards in terms of design for online teaching, but I think less is more in terms of like the visuals that we're throwing at a kid. And I'd rather you have a slideshow that's 50 slides long and each slide has something different on it than a slideshow that's like 5 slides long and they're all jam-packed with images and words, okay? So like make your whole presentation super long so that each slide can be like really controlled, because you're not sitting next to them just giving them one little thing at a time on a neat table. What they see is online, and we want that to be like crystal clear for them. We do not want to have, like, it's like, those classrooms you walk into and there's just stuff everywhere on the walls. And yes, it's all helpful, but it's so much and so overwhelming. So I think less on the screen at a time is helpful. So I know you can make yours look prettier than mine, but just make sure to keep things crisp too. Okay, that is it for the consonant lesson.